All right, welcome to Unifying Wisdom. I'm Chandra Mel, and I just want to talk a little bit about self-worth. I think a lot of people really struggle with self-worth. A lot more than I ever really considered, and a lot more than maybe you consider, or maybe you do have a good idea. But I'm going to tell you right now, I used to wear this as a piece of my identity that I have no self-worth. From the very foundations of my babyhood, I was taught that I was nothing. I wasn't worth time. I wasn't worth love. I wasn't worth basic necessities. I was left. I was found by an uncle before we were moved away from our family. My brother and sister, who were toddlers, were running around chaos, and baby me was covered in my own shit in a crib that was also covered in my shit because my mother had just left it. She left us, and she didn't have any sense of responsibility for children. So that part is neither here nor there in the fact that I'm not trying to focus on that. I want you to know that I also struggle with self-worth, but there are ways that we can work on ourselves and teach ourselves that we are absolutely worth love, affection, wealth, success, happiness, health, all of those things. So, I am here in front of you, no makeup. My hair is freshly washed and just undone. I'm a mess. And this is for me a sort of practice in my vanity of working on my self-worth, because I always believe that I have to look pretty. I know that I don't have a very attractive speaking face. Like, I make a lot of weird faces. I've always hated my smile and my laughing face. And I don't take good photos. And what else? Now I have a double chin from the 80 pounds overweight that I am, that is so far beyond what I was all of my life. Even though my weight fluctuated, it never got anywhere near this. And when I say 80 pounds overweight, I'm 80 pounds overweight what I ever really got to when I thought I was overweight. So there are ways to battle. You know, I always well, not always, but after a while I had this logical side of me that was like, well, I know that I'm worth something because I know that logically everyone is worth something. But emotionally, I didn't know it. I didn't believe it. It was so deeply ingrained in me. And it's still somewhat there. You know, there's work to be done yet, but I went to hypnotherapy last month, and this was a gift from my foster mom. I wanted to do it, and she gifted me the opportunity to do it. And I didn't expect to cry during the hypnotherapy. He made it very clear. So for those of you who have control issues like myself, you do not lose your faculties. You do not lose control of yourself. The hypnotherapist's job, at least as this one described to me, is to give you suggestions, and you act as the translator to your inner voice. So, for instance, he said, you might suggest that you can sell your paintings, or that you are, worthy of success, worthy of selling your paintings. They are worth something. Well, it was my job in that meditative state to, I'm getting distracted by the outside noise, my apologies. It was my job to decide whether I was going to take what was being suggested to me and communicate that to my inner voice, or use my inner voice to communicate, one or the other. And if you allow yourself in a state of meditation or hypnotherapy to communicate these positive messages, it can create a very deeply profound change in you. And it's not just one time for everyone. You have to continue to do this, just like with affirmations and any type of learning repetition. But another thing that he touched on heavily, this was the part that made me cry, and this is something that I don't think is wide enough knowledge. Our life tends to be governed by our inner child, because our inner child is who learned all of our traumas, all of our goods and bads and morals and rules for life, the subconscious, right? So that inner child is what guides us. That's why we have certain, what we might deem in moments as irrational fears to something that we don't have to be afraid of. Well, it's because at one point we learned to be afraid of that. And our inner child is trying to protect us. That is why we will self-sabotage or have limiting beliefs when it comes to doing things that will actually be for our betterment. So this hypnotherapy session, he had me go pick up, I as my 31-year-old self, walk into the apartment and find baby Chandra covered in shit. And I pick her up. And even though she's covered in shit, I hold her and I tell her she's okay and she's beautiful and she deserves love. And even though she might be a little smelly, she's worthy of being cared for and held and loved. And I ask her for her permission to clean her and to clean her crib. And I do so. And then I ask her for her permission to take care of her because her mother is on a different journey and is unable to, for whatever reason, is unable to do that for her. But it's okay, because I'm here and I can take care of her. And then I take her to a special place, a sanctuary of sorts. And for me, it's the tower that I am working on manifesting into my reality, that I will fucking have someday. I'm going to have this tower. I'm going to. And I raise her. And the moment that I started crying, and I went with it my whole different way, but he meant just the whole time he meant me taking care of baby Chandra, but I evolved. I went up to 8-year-old Chandra, 16-year-old Chandra. The moment that I broke down was, I actually kind of blanked out what he was saying in that moment, and my instincts in that moment were that I was now standing in front of 8-year-old Chandra, and I was standing in front of 8-year-old Chandra, and I was looking into 8-year-old Chandra's eyes, and very intensely, in my very intense manner, the way that I am, I said, you can achieve anything. You can achieve anything. And I'm over here like, turning my head, trying to choke back the tears because I don't want to bring myself out of this hypnotic state. And 8-year-old Chandra went with me to this tower. We were there and we were studying history together. We were in this beautiful wizard-like library situation. And we were studying together and we were getting really excited about knowledge and telling each other about what we were learning. And we were laughing and having just a great time being stupid and goofy. And then I went to 16-year-old Chandra and I was listening to her and what she really was interested in. And there was one point where we were just sitting on the floor back to back, just relaxing. And it was that moment, the first moment in my life, that I felt I would love to hang out with young Chandra. She seems like a fucking blast. And I didn't grow up feeling that way. I grew up thinking that I had to give and give and give and give to be worthy of anyone's attention, their friendship, their love, their care, anything. That I had to sacrifice. So a great example is I didn't grow up making friends. Ooh, I made a couple here and there, and there are one or two that were special, but I struggled with friends. And I had a lot of trust issues that built around that. But then when I finally was in this foster home where I went to high school all 4 years, and oh my God, I started actually having memories where I could be like, do you remember when this happened a year or two ago? And that was baffling to me, just having memories with people. And all the way, this is actually something that I still find myself struggling with to an extent. I could never say no to people if they wanted to talk, if they wanted to hang out, if they wanted to do something, if they wanted me to go somewhere with them, even if my battery was drained. Because I thought, if I say no once, they'll be like, okay, bye. Friendship over. Don't need you. Relationship over. Don't need you. Don't want you that much. If you're going to say no to me once, then what's the point? That's how I legitimately felt. And it wasn't even just a feeling. The way that it was for me was, it was a knowing of my worth being so low. And I also recognize, and I hope that if you struggle with self-worth, I hope that you're able to recognize that this also permeates what your worth is. So you create your own worth. If you struggle with self-worth, it is a really good idea to work on that. Because if you allow yourself to be someone who is walked on based on your insecurities, then guess what? That is exactly the reality you're creating for yourself. People are going to, even if they don't intend to do it, or if it wasn't their intent in the relationship, whatever that relationship is in the beginning, they will start to transform. The relationship will start to transform to where that is what it is. You are now below them. And it may not be conscious on their end, may not be conscious on your end or anybody's end. Completely accidental, but that is exactly what happens. So, hypnotherapy, if you can find, if you can afford it, if you can find a hypnotherapist that you trust or that you resonate with, highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Therapy is good for a lot of people in a lot of cases. Practicing affirmations, I will always come back to that, because that is also work that you can do every single fucking day. Every single day. There are other things like just journaling. And I'm going to tell you right now, I wanted to be a journaler. I wanted to be someone who journaled when I was growing up. But I just could never get myself to do it. My sister, I saw her doing that at times, and I think I was inspired to do it, but I just couldn't get myself to just start writing and just keep going. But even if you feel inspired to try it. Try journaling. Get yourself a pretty notebook or a pretty journal or a pretty diary. Or, if you're not into pretty, get yourself one that is aesthetically pleasing to you so that it is attractive to you, because that can inspire you to do that work. And reflect on what you're writing, reflect on what you're thinking. Be present in your mind and stop when you notice that you're thinking a negative thought about yourself or have a negative feeling about yourself. Take a moment and ponder that. And then interrogate it. Why is that true? Come down to another, or you get a response. Oftentimes, especially if you're of the stubborn type or the intelligent type that wants to combat self-improvement, which I have been, and I know a few strong women in my life who are that way. Well, because I'm nothing. Why? Or how? Well, my family just doesn't respect me. Okay. Why? Because they think I'm nothing. If you find yourself doing that, it might be good to recognize that what is happening is putting that responsibility on people outside of you. It is your responsibility to improve your life. It is my responsibility to improve my life. It is Doom's responsibility to improve Doom's life. Oh, she's mad now. This is actually one of the sweetest cats I've ever seen in my life. So, if you find that your responses are consistently going to how people outside of you are treating you, I welcome you to ask yourself, what energy are you bringing? Or what actions or reactions are you having or taking? What are you saying? What are you doing that might cause people to react that way to you? If you never say no, even when you are so fucking drained, which, by the way, if you're drained, you're not giving anything to anyone. You're not helping anyone. You are trying to pour from an empty cup, and that is contradictory. Counterintuitive, counteractive. It doesn't work. So you're actually doing more harm than help. You're wasting your time. You're wasting their time. You're wasting your energy that you've already got. It's already depleted. So when you say the people outside of me do not care for me, they do not respect me, well, I welcome you to ask yourself, what are you bringing that might cause that reaction? And I'll give another example. Back to the whole friendship thing. There's somebody that I was friends with for about 10 years. So partway through high school, all the way up until right before I moved to Washington when I was 25. And there were times where we didn't talk a lot, but then there were times where it was like we were twinsies. Except I never felt that way. I would drop everything to go hang out with her if she wanted to hang out, to drive on the 45-minute drive or wherever to the big city in Kansas, Wichita, when she wanted to go shop for herself. Yet if I wanted to go to Wichita for something, if I had asked her, that same energy was not reciprocated. And there was a lot of bitterness around that. Not specifically just that, but that is an example of it. There was a lot of bitterness around how much I would sacrifice and be there for this person through her hardships, through her non-hardships, and it was not reciprocated, at least in the same ways. And I'm sure there are ways that this person did absolutely put a lot of effort in. But I always felt beneath her. And I always felt like I was fortunate enough to be her friend. And I should be so great, which you should be grateful, absolutely, to have people in your lives. But not in a way that's self-deprecating, the way that I was. And I remember at the end, I really felt that the relationship, the friendship ended because I had gotten to a point where I was having anxiety attacks every day. And I didn't know why. I didn't even know that that's what was happening. But I would go to work and I would be breaking down, crying every fucking day of the week at work. And I didn't realize it's because I'm a huge fucking introvert. And every minute of every fucking day outside of work, I was not alone. I was not alone for months. And that's not her fault. That's my fault. Because I felt that if I were to say, I need a moment, then I would lose that friendship. And it took losing that friendship and then some time to learn that that is exactly what caused it. Guaranteed. That's exactly, well, that's how I feel. That's what I feel caused it. And I'm really grateful to have lost that friendship for a lot of reasons, and that is one of them. I learned a very valuable lesson in honoring myself and my worth in a friendship and not giving up everything and dropping everything all the time. Being able to say, you know what, I would love to, but I need to chill. I need to be home. I need to just be alone. Or I already have plans, or I'm busy, or whatever the case may have been that I would be willing to drop everything for, you know, for her in the past. And through that, I actually became a better friend to the friends that I made when I moved to Washington. I think that I became a much better friend, and I actually made friends a lot fucking quicker. So really, those struggles that I had were ultimately on me. Because I also watched that same friend put more effort into other friendships than she did mine. And I know I had some bitterness because I was the one who was always there for her. And I didn't burn her. I didn't steal from her. I didn't do some of the things that other people did to her. And yet I was the one who was getting put on the back burner. Well, that's because I allowed myself to be placed on the back burner. I put myself below this person. I put this person on a pedestal above me. Which, by the way, this whole thing with I'm not putting you above me, I just don't want to see my fucking double chin while I'm recording, okay? So that's not what this is about. But, just look inside yourself. And if you're struggling with your self-worth, interrogate those thoughts. Interrogate those beliefs. There is a root cause, a root situation, a root instance, a root something where they came from. So keep asking questions until you find where they came from. knowledge is half the fucking battle. If you find out what caused you to have such limiting beliefs around yourself, then you have your foundation, your baseline, and you can start moving forward. You can start working through that. And you can find tools all over the internet. And as I learn more tools that I can just off the top of my head, I'll be sharing them on here. Absolutely. Because we all deserve to fucking grow, to believe in ourselves, to feel good about ourselves, to recognize what we need and to recognize what we want. Not a single fucking one of us doesn't deserve that growth. And the more you grow, the better person you will become. This kind of got like weird, like a little bit of a lecture. I'm very passionate. And I'm very imperfect too. So like, this isn't me like teaching you. I'm very intense. I really hope that something in this has resonated with you, and I would love to hear your thoughts or read your thoughts in the comments and how this has resonated with you, or, you know, anything you add on to it, whatever. I'd love to read it. I think we can all collaborate together to improve not just ourselves, but help each other grow. And that's something that's really fucking phenomenal about the internet. So, thank you again for joining me. This is Unifying Wisdom. I'm Chandra Mel. Please, if you're enjoying this channel or you're looking forward to what's to come, hit the subscribe, hit the bell. That is definitely going to help my channel grow and get more viewers so that we can create a bigger energy field working together and growing together and learning together. And that's what Unifying Wisdom is motherfucking about. So thank you for joining me.